Okay. Well, for people joining this live stream, we are talking about new functionality for version 12 of Wolfram Language to do with natural language processing and text analysis. And hopefully, let me just save this in the right place. We should have some interesting things to see here. Okay.
A lot of problems to solve.
What's that? There are some problems still to solve?
A lot of problems to solve.
Okay, all right. So let's take a look at text cases, which is here being asked to look for city, country, and dates. Okay, and give both the string and the interpretation. So that was a bit slow. Is that the expected speed? Jerome?
Yeah, I discovered.
Was there startup? Is there startup stuff that was going on there, or is that the? No, that was a little faster. Yeah. Is it caching, or is there startup to be done?
I bet it's the entity, like put a semicolon.
There is interpretation also that takes. I think. Interpreter took time also.
Yeah.
Which was then cached, so we don't see it here.
If interpreter caches, yes, we don't know about that.
I believe that it does for this purpose. Can you check that? Who's PMing here, by the way?
Sushma.
Okay.
Can you try to interpret Los Angeles twice? You'll see pretty. My bet is a display. It's a display that was.
Yeah, that was quite fast.
That was slow.
It's quite nice. It's quite nice. So let's say, and the state of LA. Oops. No Louisiana there. So let's say, if I say New Orleans.
But you don't have state here. You have city, country, date.
Oh, really good point. Okay, so if I do that.
So I guess it's administrative division. So you could add.
Oh, look at that. That was clever of it. It knew that. Okay, so let's remove LA here and see whether it does the right thing. Oh, very good. I'm impressed, except why didn't that work? How could that have?
Huh? What is that?
It didn't cut. You see, it took all this as a full string, I think.
Well, that's wrong.
Oh, there's two, and it didn't interpret. Okay, it could interpret NYC, SF, so it gave the string because it couldn't interpret it.
But how does it know it's a city?
Well, it believed it was a city. The network believed it was a city.
But it didn't verify it.
It didn't. Yeah, you have to do check interpretation for that.
Okay, so if I now were to do this with a check interpretation arrow true.
Yeah. Then it will only return what is in our database, basically. I mean.
By the way, that there seem to be some auto-completion issues there.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, interpreter does cache.
That's what I thought. Okay, that was pretty cool. Okay, so let's look at this. That color for the snippet is a bit garish.
I think we all agree. It's highlight string, right, Jerome? Or highlight?
Yeah, highlighted.
Highlighted. And if you can make people change that, that would be great.
Well, sorry, that is the use of highlighted in a string gives you this?
It's a row with strings and highlighted strings.
Yeah, it's a use of highlighted, right? The function, I mean, you can look at documentation, highlighted. It's all yellow.
So wait a second. So I'm sorry. You're using highlighted. I lost it for a second there. You're using some highlighted function with string.
Yeah.
It has a background option you can change if you don't want to change the default, because that takes longer.
I don't know what. Well, okay, but
just highlight everything. Highlight the old stuff. I think.
And what I use here is a row of this stuff and normal strings.
It could be a bit lighter. I don't know.
Yeah, I think. I mean, highlighted is probably right for other purposes, but you know, here it really seems too. I mean, maybe you should just use a different thing for the snippet. I mean, and also it's not obvious to me that you should do. So how are we doing snippet highlighting in text search?
It's the same. I took it from there. That's the point. Actually, I'm talking about the snippet properties, the section after.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. We'll get to that then.
Which means, Jérôme, it's a great ordering of the agenda.
Yes.
So yeah, this is the text search example where you can ask snippets.
And you've also done that in.
So yeah, in find text, it was already there. And then now I have adopted about the name because it was called highlighted sentence. So now I added also snippet to find textual answer, where it's not necessarily a sentence or a paragraph, it's words that come before and after. And if it's the beginning of a sentence, that it takes just after.
So hold on a second. So snippet is not highlighted. Snippet just means give me where you thought you got the information from.
Actually, it is highlighted in that case.
Yeah, but
it should be highlighted.
The function snippet does not do a highlight, but text search, I call it a snippet property with highlight. So I took it, but I also have adopted about this name snippet because there is not the notion of highlight inside.
Sorry, I keep on getting distracted here. I apologize. So wait a minute. Right now we support snippet and find textual answer. Is that correct?
No.
Yeah, no, it's correct. Yeah, I added it to at the same time to text cases, text contents, and find textual answer.
No, but you added it just now, right? It was not the previous version of find textual answer didn't have snippet.
Yeah, exactly. It had the highlighted sentence and paragraph, which are almost the same.
Still things we can change. It's not
okay, but so when they say highlighted, do they have highlights in them, or are they just that is the sentence that was at issue? Do you understand my issue?
Well, you can ask sentence or a highlighted sentence. And here on the screen, we see highlighted sentence.
Okay. I don't think snippet should have highlighting by default. Okay, I think you should have to say highlighted if you want. I think if you just want the sentence, you should just ask for sentence or ask for paragraph. Am I making sense? Or ask for snippet, which is a less defined thing to get.
So here we already have containing. We can ask find cities and containing like the sentence containing cities. We already have a thing for that. So I don't think we need some extra properties. Only the property will be useful if they have some highlight. But I agree that it should be highlighted snippet, sentence snippet.
I think so. And I mean, supplying, the containing thing is kind of, I don't think there's a problem in supplying an alternate syntax where you can say sentence or paragraph as what you want to get. Like here, if we really want to say, find textual answer, comma, paragraph, why not let them do that?
Well, of course, yeah, for find textual answer, it makes more sense. For text cases, I don't know. No, for text cases, we cannot because we have to say, okay, a sentence containing what? So we have to use containing for text cases, yeah. But okay, what Jérôme, I think, was saying is that text search currently has a snippet, right?
Yeah.
And it's highlighted. Okay, that's the current design of text search, the first one.
That's probably wrong. We should probably revisit that for text search. Okay, and that should probably become highlighted snippet for text search. Is anybody in this meeting representing text search?
No.
Okay. Well, so can you take that?
Yes.
That's probably Matt is probably the person.
Yeah.
I just don't think this was an issue that was thought about there. Okay.
Okay, so I will rename, and should I keep snippet without highlight as a property, or?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, I think so. Snippet is just the pure.
I mean, only for textual answer because it doesn't make sense for text cases. Yeah.
What doesn't make sense for text cases?
Snippet.
Why not?
Because it's snippet of what?
What
Sorry.
you're asking.
Sorry. Yes, it's the output. Sorry. I thought it was like a form. Yeah, sorry. Okay. I was wrong.
I think it should be. Well, I don't really know what it means here either, because I don't know how big is a snippet.
It depends on, actually, it's taking more or less 50 characters before and after, and cutting, not to cut a word. And yeah, if it's starting a sentence, then it's taking just the context after. There are these kind of heuristics. But it's a text of around 100 of characters around your answer.
Okay. All right. Seems okay. And then highlighted snippet is the highlighted version. But how you represent the highlighted version, whether it is a row or whether, for example, we're burning that formatting into a string, is less clear to me.
Yeah, but we already had this discussion for find textual answer. So I started with the string.
Okay, and I convinced you to use a row. Is that right?
Yeah, and after it was seemed to be ugly. Like if you ask for the input form, it's just.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So then we went to row. So that's what we should do for all of these things.
Yeah.
So then highlighted star is a row, not a string.
Yeah. Exactly.
Should I suggest text search people also to use highlighted snippet?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, the next points were about text contents.
Okay, so interesting problem there. I can't do the selection because this is some totally bizarre thing that got pasted in here. Wow.
You want to give a row to text contents?
No, I don't. Well, yes, actually, I would like to do that. Can I do that?
No.
Okay, maybe we should make that work. But there's something wrong with the selection here. But maybe we should make the row thing work so that it can eat its own output, so to speak. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it should take every element of the row as an independent text? Or
independent, or should it concatenate is what you're asking?
Yeah, it should concatenate if he...
I think it should concatenate, yeah.
I don't think it will be, common use case.
So, well, I know, but it should be able to eat its own output. Okay, that's an unfortunate one.
You can ask for probabilities, for example. It's not going to eat probabilities. So,
what are you saying?
I say it also output probabilities and positions, but it cannot eat them again. It's not really...
No, I understand that, but at least eating a highlighted string seems useful.
Okay. Oh, by the way, since Stephen is looking at the probabilities, we could mention a new option, which is acceptance threshold. So you should be able to put acceptance threshold 0.8, let's say, and it should filter.
Okay, and is that acceptance threshold also what we're using for image identifier and so on?
Yes.
Yes, we updated everything. The old recognition threshold was renamed to synchronize with this.
Good. Okay, and the documentation has been updated.
Most of it. I mean, we are doing final pass now, which is the last week, but it will be if it's not. It should be all updated now.
And this is new, by the way, in text cases, because before we did on text contents, because before we didn't have probabilities.
What is this? This is an unknown. What is this?
So it's the progress bar of the neural network when it's computing.
I mean,
we thought it was a good idea to put a progress bar because
it is a good idea to have a progress bar, but I don't understand why that progress bar is a progress bar I've never seen before.
Yes.
It's an internal progress bar of neural network that now we expose for text cases. Yeah, maybe we should do something more ornate.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's internal, but it's never been, is it seen by users or not?
Not yet. I mean.
Okay, so it just needs design. Okay, so now this, is that going to work?
Now goes to interpretation.
Oh, okay. Okay, so there's two things. Obviously, this is going red and it shouldn't be, right? Sushma, that's probably for you.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, it didn't autocomplete in an interesting way for the right-hand side of that.
Okay.
Okay, what on earth is this doing? This is some kind of unbatched interpretation thing. That's presumably a problem.
Yeah, there's a bit of timing once the net is done that we still have to hunt down what's going on exactly.
Okay, so there's many different problems here. So one is an interpretation problem, where 19th century should be correctly interpreted there. Am I making sense? And if it needs to be interpreted as a computable date, well, I think that should just interpret in the pure date interpreter. Am I making sense? And
I think what we do, huh? Oh yeah,
well, yeah, I understand, but I mean, I'm saying the date interpreter should deal with these cases.
Yeah.
1960s obviously is a nice decade-long, thing. If I'm making sense, right?
Actually, we're going to find a lot of bugs with it because the neural network catches many more things that we can actually interpret.
Yes, I mean, this is good, but this is so for example, if I say here, now I don't know whether what this did is correct or whether it should have said missing, not interpretable for those.
It makes things pretty ugly.
Yeah, but I mean, what's the correct behavior of
fail interpretation? Before we had the failure object, it was making things look so bad. Like here you'll have like tens of failure objects that are huge in your list.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's also going to be confusing if the thing, I suspect when we de-experimentalize this function, we should get rid of this. But probably for now that it's still experimental, we can let it come out with.
That was a question we wanted to know. Like, should we de-experimentalize for 12 or we wait a bit more?
Well, we should wait, given what it's doing here. In other words, this should be set up so that it should be the case that anything that text cases reports as a date, the date interpreter should eat. Am I making sense?
Okay. For dates,
it's the option check interpretation.
No. I know that, but it will be good as just a matter of increasing quality for dates.
Yeah.
We should deal with this.
Yeah. So that's for dates.
I mean,
now there's many other things that an interpreter cannot do, and
try location, for example. Does location get interpreted?
It does not exist location.
Okay, so so it's only things like city, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then city, arrow. Is that going to take forever? Atlantic doesn't strike me as a likely city. It's in Iowa. It's very unlikely to be the city in question.
Yes.
Now, I mean, stuff like that, is that, how is it feeding that? Is it just saying this string is likely to be a city? Do you understand what I'm saying? And then it feeds it to the city interpreter?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like it's kind of separated, which is important.
So
things that are not entities. And I think you got right, like Orly is clearly a city, but not...
As opposed to an airport. I mean, that strikes me as very unlikely to be a city. And that strikes me as even more unlikely to be a city.
Yeah, that's true.
So, okay, so let's imagine that I do this and I say acceptance threshold. Can I do that?
Yes.
Why doesn't it work? Is it not available in this version?
Is it only in the prototype external threshold?
No, it should be here. Maybe it's not documented in this version, but so you should put 0.3. No, you're right, sorry.
It still catches pink and.
No, I don't think that's right. I think it's ignoring it.
You should maybe use a performance goal goes to quality. Because maybe it's using the spelling when you do this.
Okay, so ignore the acceptance threshold.
No. Well, just to see if the now it's.
It wasn't using the network.
Yeah, it was using the spellings.
Why?
The old ones. Yeah, because it's the version of last week, so I.
I see.
Changed the default.
The default should be surely quality.
Yeah, now it's like this.
It is, but you're looking at last week's version.
I see. Okay, fine.
So that's
Okay.
how it should be normally.
Okay, so now what happened here?
Which works much better.
Much better, much better. This is much better.
I mean,
Much better. Well done.
Agglomeration.
Okay, so now what happens if we put an acceptance threshold in here? We've got to do something about this ridiculous thing. I mean, it's okay to have it's better to have a progress monitor than no progress monitor, but it would be even better to have a progress monitor that agrees with our style guidelines. That was magnificent. Well, almost magnificent there. Somebody's asking on the live stream if there's a century granularity for data objects. There is. So there should be that when we say 19th century here, that should just work. I mean, in other words, there is a data object. I think it would be, 1800, and then we say granularity century. Yep, beautiful. Okay, all right. So let's keep going here. Text, contents.
So I think there are two big sections that are interesting also for Julio and Shadi, like the image contents stuff. First, it's about the design of text contents, like what should be the second and third argument, and also about the properties, and also about the types, like how to document all the types that we can recognize with all these functions.
Okay.
Let's start with arguments. So
in what?
We should start with the arguments. We had a meeting about text contents, image contents, kind of consistency. When was that? It was in June, I think. We kind of agreed, but we didn't discuss that much about the second and third argument of XX contents, which I assume we should continue like image contents.
Etienne, I think we mainly agreed on the cases part. So now image cases is doing the same thing as text cases with the like object goes to property.
Yeah.
So you can say dog goes to probability or image, similar to the city goes to interpretation. So that part has been aligned. But we are still not perfectly aligned with the contents thing, and also we are not. I think we are not even in the same on the same page about how do we want to package this contents thing.
So for dataset, I think we agreed last time.
Yeah, the dataset, yes, but package, I mean, in the sense of interface more than result.
Well, hold on. So in the case of image contents, just like image identify, the category is second. Is that correct?
Yes, the point here, that design was copied from image identify. The point here is that like we have these cases function. So Shadi and I were thinking, do we really need anything more than the one argument form of the contents function? These are discovery functions, basically.
Well, I think property, I don't think category belongs there. I think properties belong as you have it in text contents. I think you could do it the same way round as text contents. Properties comes first, and types comes properties comes second, types comes third if you're going to give types.
My issue with that is that is a problem to do that. Is that it's basically the same thing as doing text cases with the slightly different syntax. Instead of an arrow, now you have two different arguments. I think it's slightly confusing that you have two functions doing basically the same thing.
Well, except that we want to parameterize text contents because text contents is going to return a data set, whereas text cases does not.
And
yeah, I mean, we have two functions whose only difference is the one gives you tag to basically output, and the other one plain list.
All the difference is that they approach the problem in the other direction. One starts to give you everything and you restrict, while the other one is you have to opt in for everything you want to show.
Yes, I agree.
So
I agree.
But then what's the advantage of slicing in the function and not in the dataset?
Because it might be more efficient. I'm not really concerned. I think if the contents functions basically say, well, this should basically say gives a data set something like gives a data set of entities identified in text, gives a data set about entities identified in text, something like that. Shall I make that change?
Actually, yeah, then you can review quickly the documentation, then we don't have to do it.
Okay, I'm going to run out of time here, so we need to be.
Then maybe we go to the other point.
Okay.
And
let me go ahead and update documentation so we're in a position to do this. Okay, what was the other point here?
Maybe Etienne, just before we switch, one reason why we had this order, so we don't go back to this point again, is because you liked the idea to be able to write image contents, image, comma, dogs or animals. And I guess this was the original suggestion for having the category in the second argument.
Which is the same as image cases then?
Exactly. So in this case, it would be image contents, image, comma, image, I guess, the string to get the subimage, comma, dog.
Yeah, I think that's stupid. I agree with my previous statement. So the difference here is the following. In the case of image contents, there's a hierarchy of things to look for. That's why that's useful, because we can say look for animals, and you can have a turtle and a peacock and other things in the picture, right? Whereas the analog, there isn't an analog of that, to my knowledge, for text contents. There are no super categories for text contents, are there?
You just tried location. That is, in a sense, a super category.
It is, although the interpretation would give geopositions. Yes, it is a super category. I agree, it didn't work. So, Jerome, I mean, I think if text contents, comma, location would be interesting, right? That would be worthwhile. Jerome, are you with us?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of getting convinced that text contents should have the types second, with the expectation that most of the time you would use the one argument form. If you do give the types, it will be super categories, not the individual things. Does that make sense?
Why not the individual things?
Well,
I guess
can give the individual thing if you want to. You can give it if you want to. Just a convenient way, but then it becomes very similar to text cases, except that it's defaulting to giving you a data set.
Right. And then the props should be some subset of all the props that we think make sense. And maybe
by default, yeah. I mean, by default, it's whatever. Yes, but then you can specify the ordering or which properties to include.
Yeah, sure. And all in automatic. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we reviewed already automatic. We have this thing, string concept position probability snippet. It's similar to what we have for images. Like you went through both of them. So
excellent. Okay.
That would be automatic, and then all would be everything, of course.
Yes. Excellent. All right. Let's keep going. What is formal?
Oh yeah. Forget about that. This was just so this is kind of a review of the 4 types of stuff we would like to show. There's one type of stuff that are defined by strings, which is like entity, interpreter type, grammatical units, like all the nouns and stuff like that. So city, country, date, person, color, nouns, blah, blah, blah. Formal was kind of me starting a sentence like, do we want a non-string way, like entity type way to define
Yes.
these types, because there could be conflict with other strings. So
I think we can use entity type, can't we? Or does entity type just return? Entity type could be much more horrifying. So wait a minute, entity, no, we don't have
a, I don't think we have
we don't have a wrapper that means that.
We have the entity class. So I think you can do entity class city all, which kind of would represent all the cities, but
well, that's a question for the database people. I mean, that's a question we've just been going through this issue of what that represents. So I think that will be a Carlo question. What he thinks, Carlo and Tony question.
Mm-hmm.
But this is very interesting. I mean, this type of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So to continue the story. So we have these global types. Then we have specific entities. You can ask, give me instance of the Apple entity in a text. And
Very
then we have this text level semantic, English, poetic sentiment. But then do we want to say, like, if you want to do, let's say, Arabic language entity, should it be interpreted as the text level semantic, like find everything that is in Arabic language, or as a mention of the Arabic language in the text, like she speaks Arabic?
No, I understand. Those are two different concepts. The word Arabic, or a representation of the Arabic language, as opposed to something written in the Arabic language.
Exactly. So,
boy, it's like every philosophy question is becomes code. Well, clearly this should mean a representation of the Arabic language. I hadn't really internalized the fact you can look for entities here. So, for example, are you telling me that if I go back up to our Toulouse example, that if I say here, look for, if I say control equals Paris here, oh boy, I had no idea.
yeah.
And if I say Paris arrow snippet, or is it highlighted snippet?
Snippet.
At the moment.
That's pretty cool, if I might say so. I had no idea that worked. So is it the case that if I had, NYC and things like that, that would similarly work? So if I say text cases,
I'm sure it will. Oh.
What's that?
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
Maybe it has to be in a sentence because it's a neural network that.
It should work. Maybe put performance quality goes to true.
Because it's okay. Yeah, it's an old stuff. So let's. It's week old implementation.
Yeah, it's like an unfine wine or something. I don't know. No, it's a week old. That's not what.
No.
It's not working.
Huh.
It should work, I think.
That's surprising.
Okay. All right. Well, so check it out. But
it's weird because
is this documented, the fact that it can actually take an entity?
Yes. Well, it's a row in a table, in a big table of types, but
okay. But so you'll show a good example of that.
I think I know what happened. So currently, it doesn't have. In this week-old version, it doesn't have the right spellings. So the way that it does, it checks all the cities. So I think they are grabbed, the cities, no problem. And then it checks, kind of, does it correspond to one of our spelling? Actually, should just use interpreter.
No, it's what it's doing, Etienne. Normally, it should run the network and then
Interpreter?
run the interpreter on all the answers.
That's weird. 2CT?
What? In this case
CT?
here?
Yeah, that must be this that is wrong, yeah? Oh, wow. And interpreter city? No, that's not normal. Okay, it should grab it. It should grab it. Because interpreter city New York will work, right? So
yes.
Yeah, normally it works with New York. I tested that.
It's just a bug somewhere.
Okay. All right. Fine. Okay. All right. Let's keep going here. So I think we've come to a conclusion for what should happen here. Yeah, we were down.
Yeah. We're good. This okay.
Ooh, okay. Look, I think what we should do here is name it instead of calling it English. Oh boy. No, I mean, I guess that's okay to call it English there because we're not, Arabic as a language has to be an entity. The specific, the singular Arabic is an entity. The string, oh boy. See, okay, so let's look at this. So language identify.
This returns entities.
Wait a minute. VD. Is that right?
I'm not sure there's Latin.
Oh dear.
There's no Latin. There's only.
I'm surprised there isn't Latin because we certainly have dictionaries in Latin.
We should have. Yeah, it's just based on the 60 most used language in Wikipedia, and Latin is not one of them.
Okay.
I think we have to do a new version. What?
There's Wikipedia in Latin. Should be more used.
But I think it's not
Okay.
used.
Okay. In any case, it's a minor bug. Who knows whether those words exist in Slovenian?
No, it should grab Latin though.
Whatever. Okay. So who knows what happened there? Okay. In any case, doesn't really matter. But my point is, language identifier is returning that entity. See, sentiment itself, the sentiment identifier is returning simply positive, right? And by the way, we should probably break out of classify sentiment. We probably should have a sentiment classify or something function because it's such a common thing.
Yep.
And that way we could decorate it some more. But, that's going to return, +1 or something as the sentiment. And how on earth do we represent this?
We cannot have a correspondence. Yeah.
I have to say that, what this really is more something where we're saying language is English or some such other thing, or something like, well, I don't really know what the
I see.
Sentiment is. So here's a suggestion. Okay, here's a suggestion. What we could do is to make this into an association. I mean, this would get ornate, and maybe we can't support it all, but something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that will be the way to represent. I mean, we can have some shorthands like this, but this is the more general way to represent that.
Yeah, so do we have... Okay, just an association, no extra wrapper.
That's what I'm suggesting.
No text, I don't know.
Text type or something. I don't think we need that. I mean, I think for this purpose, this will be sufficient for disambiguation. But I think
that could be nice.
I think this is reasonably nice because this allows us to do a combination of things, which would be, and then if what we actually have is, if also we have whatever the generic name type city, is that the right term, or what do we call that? I mean, then it's really entity type. What are we calling those things?
We call them form or type in documentation. We prefer a bit type.
Okay, but something like a date is not an entity type.
No, but it's type of stuff. I don't know, not an entity type, but yeah.
Well, so it could be that. It could be form, arrow, city. I mean, form, arrow, date makes more sense. Form, arrow,
Although I'm not sure they mix that well, because all this sentiment language topic, the paradigm is give the longest piece of string that satisfies this given sentiment, or this given language, or this given topic.
Well, what about? Yes, I understand that, but what about having a city inside a positive sentiment thing? How would we do that? Can we do that?
I guess I will be in
with containing positive sentiment.
We have a containing. Okay, so.
Well, okay, so then what is this? That is definitely
part of containing, actually. Could it? Like containing sentence, I don't remember the order.
Well, it's containing. It will be sentence, comma, something or other, right?
Yeah, city, let's say, and then we could do sentiment goes to, I don't know. Oh, but no, we would want. No, it doesn't work. Yeah. We'd want the version without cities.
Well, I mean, we could imagine making all of this into an association, like extent, arrow, sentence, and then all these pieces here. This is my suggestion for the full form of stuff like this, okay? I think perhaps for this version, if we have, I mean, how many topic names do we have? What topics do we have?
I don't know, do classify, okay, I can do it. Classify Facebook, so it's a Facebook topic at the moment.
Okay. But that's a fairly specific set of topics. And I mean, it's interesting, but I think we're going to have to decorate that because, we might have topics, as we've discussed, finding a robust sort of global topic list is really hard.
Yes.
Text position.
25 classes.
In Facebook.
Yeah. Books, career and money, social media, family and friends, fashion, fitness, blah, 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 blah. Television, transport, travel, video games, weather.
Yeah, I remember roughly what those were. I mean, it's cool. It's an interesting list of topics, and it's great that we can do. I mean, the fact that we don't have a topic classification thing for, a single. We don't have a function which do we? Yeah, we do. We have Facebook topic, right? For classify, we can give a Facebook topic.
Yeah, we don't have yet topic identify.
Right, because we didn't feel, a couple of years ago we looked at this and we just didn't feel we could generate a robust global list of topics.
I guess we could, but
well, I think it's really hard. We went through this. I mean, is it based on, there's academic topics, there's what, academic field this paper is in, there's where would the book show up in the Library of Congress, there's where would DMOZ classify it. There's a bunch of different kinds of classifications, and there really isn't a global notion of this. It really depends what you want it for. So I don't think it's the right thing to have.
Yes, but I mean, it would be a hierarchical thing, like emergentify, I think.
I don't think, well, we looked at this and it looked really hard to do this in a globally useful way because there are attributes of a text, like something might be a polemic or, a piece of political text, but it might be about, the problem of encroaching, species or something, or it might be about something different. And then the question is the topic politics or is the topic, ecology?
Of course.
And so I think it's a finer grained issue. But let's see, in terms of, look, we are going to run out of time, unfortunately, here. Oh, boy.
That's good, huh? I think, no, this is kind of these are the details of what we already talked about. So
actually, what I was looking for, it was a way to document all the possible types because we have many.
Oh, yeah.
And for now, I did like the net model. If you don't give any argument, it returns you something with the list.
I think that's a total hack.
Yeah, but so that's a question. What function?
Well, one possibility. I mean, Boy, I think what we should do, I mean, first of all, we just need it in the straight documentation pages, okay? Where you say any entity, right? It's any entity is going to work. Is that not correct? Any entity type. Any language, any entity type. So
Okay.
you could,
No, we don't have the complete list, actually.
well, why don't we consider the ones that don't work to be bugs for now? Unless there's a good reason why they can't work. Or can you characterize which ones don't work?
Yeah, I mean, the network was trained on a subset of them. So
How many?
On this, like 180.
Okay, and how did you pick those ones?
Yeah, the ones that were making sense for me.
Okay, well, the ones that didn't make sense, can you characterize what those were and why they didn't make sense?
Yeah, there were several cases. There was a case of food where there was a lot of common words. So in this case, it was more me that I could not construct my data set with the strategy I was using.
Some just didn't make sense, right?
And some also did not
Okay,
make
well,
sense.
so look, what I suggest we do is we say, you know, first of all, we need good error messages if you give an entity that doesn't work. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Second thing, what we need to do is write a, you know, in the documentation, we need to basically say entities that make sense work and not really describe what those are here. If you really insist on having this, one possibility is to put this data set into the data repository.
Yeah, what I don't like with data repository is that here you are sure that all this will work with this version normally, but
well, I don't have a really great solution for this. I mean, I think that I understand. I mean, you can leave this hack in there for now, okay? Until we have a better solution for this.
Okay. Last thing, if you go up a little bit more. So it was the last type. Okay, it's aliases for group type. So it's kind of this fourth thing we've been thinking of. It's Jerome that has been a bit pushing to have this. Is let's say I want all the part of speech, but I
there
actually
is
want to
examples in the last bullet.
Look, I'm sorry, I can't go on right now. I apologize. It's a pity this meeting got started late. We can reschedule this later.
Okay.
Can we get that done? I don't know if we can get it in tomorrow.
Okay. I mean, it was over otherwise. It was the very last thing.
I don't think it is quite over. I think there's a little bit more stuff to discuss. I mean, all right, try asking this question. What is a group type?
Exactly. So let's say part of speech. Right now, you'll have to do the list noun, comma, verb, comma, determiner, in order to have written an association with noun, and then the list of all the nouns that has been grabbed, verb, and the list of all the verb that has been grabbed. Jérôme would like to do something like part of speech, and then we have the same result.
But how is that correspond to other? I don't understand. I mean, in other cases, you're not giving back city, arrow, whatever. You know,
when there are some types, it does this.
Oh yes, no, you're right. If you just ask city, it won't give an association back. If you have for a list like city, country, it will give an association back.
Okay, fine. So then there's no problem with this. Then, for example, location. If you wanted to, you could give something which would be that's a super category, where you would give some collection of things back. I mean, I personally think that,
it's breaking a little bit the paradigm that when you have just
I think
one
it's
element.
breaking it. And okay, I would like to look at this again. Okay.
Okay.
It's going to take another hour.
All right.
Okay? And we have some questions on our live stream. Let's see. What about text contents working for custom entity property hierarchies? Yeah, great. The problem there is you need natural language understanding. We are working on related things. We're working on this, but not an immediate thing. We're making what you have here leverages our many, lots of work that we've done on LU for these existing categories. Okay, and there's a question about arbitrary image sets, yes, that is something you can do with text cases. I mean, with image cases. All right, so to be continued. Thanks a lot. Good stuff.
Bye-bye.
Very nice stuff. Thanks.